Are being priced out of the housing market. People are turning to rentals as maybe a cheaper alternative, but the best value might not be where you'd expect. RentSeeker.ca's published its annual report on the price of apartments across the country, and there are some surprises. Joining us now is the website's communications manager, Kopstick. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And this is an issue that a lot of people are talking about, because housing is housing, right?
Yeah, housing is housing, and as the housing continues to rise all across Canada, people turn to other sources for their housing, and especially, rents are getting very popular as well.
Yeah, because we hear about this housing, the bubble, right? And I think many people don't realize that bubble would affect the rental market as well.
Sure. The question is, of course, is there a bubble? Is it the actual economy that's causing this to move, or is it just a bubble of just inflating prices? And if it's going to burst, well, then that's going to affect the market rents, of course, also for apartments. And if it bursts, housing goes down and rents will go down as well. But right now, as it's rising, the demand for something cheaper is the rents for apartments. And of course, those are going to rise as well.
Exactly. Why don't we take a look across the country?
Yeah.
And we've got a couple of things. First of all, we're going to take a look at one-bedroom apartments, okay?
Sure.
And more affordable. So we're starting with St. John's.
Oh, yeah.
And look at that, $782 St. John's, Newfoundland.
It's amazing that it stays at in the 700 range in the average. And then, of course, as you go to the 2- and 3-bedroom in St. John's, it doesn't really change that much.
It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And in some places, I mean, if you compare the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom, also in St. John, it goes up by $5. So if you want to if you just want to add that 3rd bedroom, if you want to have it for a family, or if you want to rent with friends or something like that, and just share the expenses, it's a great idea. You look at the graphic that we provide on our blog at RentSeeker, you see that, hey, you know what? Maybe let's just get that extra room. It helps.
And you know what, though? I just wanted to focus in on Montreal, because the one-bedroom apartments and more affordable, the lowest of the 5 we featured, $660 for the 1-bedroom.
Sure. You know what? Quebec is a very, very, very inexpensive place when it comes to apartments to rent. And it's really exciting because I noticed something very similar also about Quebec, if I may. You look at something like a 3-bedroom in Ottawa, and let's say you're a university student, you're going to Ottawa, or you're an intern in the Capitol Hill there, and if you want to just look at an Ottawa apartment, you're really taking yourself away from what you really could get. Like in Gatineau in Quebec, which is just like, I don't know, 25-minute drive away, you're looking at rents that are significantly less
which is a good point.
Absolutely.
Want to go to the less affordable one-bedroom apartments now, okay? So we've got a little graphic here. Markham, and this is what's interesting. So Markham, just a little outside of Toronto, just east of, $1,094. 94. It's more than Toronto.
It's more than Toronto, and I'm surprised that you didn't even catch. Well, you might have, but Burlington is at $1,379.
That's a lot.
$1,379. We're thinking, back at home base at RentSeeker, we were discussing it. We were thinking that it might have to do with the fact that there are certain rent controls that go on, that the government places on a landlord, that when you have a current tenant, they can't increase the rent on a year-to-year basis for more than, like, for example, in 2016 in Ontario, it's going to be 2%.
Right.
So, but if it's a new tenant and they're having a turnover, well, then they can do whatever market demands. They can price it wherever they feel that the market's going to pay for it.
Do you think that's at play here?
So maybe in Burlington and Oakville and Markham and places like that, you see more of a turnover. People like where they're staying in Toronto; they want to stay there, and maybe there's more of a turnover there in Burlington.
And that's why we're seeing the higher price rent.
That's what we're thinking. That's what we're thinking.
Interesting stuff. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here.